What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So we have some huge news within the sport of boxing. Everybody wonders, when is the Phenom, undefeated, rising welterweight, superstar, title contender, Jaron Boots Ennis, 28 wins, no losses, no draws, 26 wins by way of knockout, 24 years of age, 5'10" with a 74-inch arm reach. When will he return to the ring? Jaron Boots Ennis, that is. Well, it looks like Jaron Ennis will be returning to the ring March or April this year, more than likely March of this year, in the IBF, International Boxing Federation's title Eliminator, to make himself the mandatory challenger for undefeated unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer who is widely considered by many to be top 3 best pound for pound fighters in the world, and Earl the Truth Spence Jr. 27 wins, no losses, no draws, 21 wins by way of knockout, 31 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. Now, Earl Spence, he's going into a unification bout in April as well against Cuban star boxer who's the World Boxing Association, better known as the WBA welterweight super champion, Yordenis Ugas. That's looked like it's going to take place April 16th, possibly in Dallas, Texas at Cowboy Stadium. With that said, the IBF has now ordered a title eliminator for Jaron Boots Ennis, who is going to be number 1 in the IBF ranking system, because the IBF number 1 ranking challenger, Abdul he lost to Cody Crowley. Now, Cody Crowley, Abdul he lost to Cody Crowley, but he was the mandatory for Errol Spence Jr., and he lost that position. Now, Cody Crowley, he could have fought Jaron Boots Ennis, but he wants $1 million plus, 7 figures, to fight Jaron Ennis. So now we have a replacement, which is more than likely going to be Custio Clayton, undefeated, rising welterweight superstar, star title contender. Custio Clayton. Custio Clayton, 19 wins, no losses, 1 draw, 12 wins by way of knockout, 34 years of age, 5'9", with a 69.5-inch arm reach. Okay, he's from Canada. Okay, his birthplace is Canada. He's a Canadian-born fighter out of Dartmouth, and he's 19 wins. That 1 draw came at the hands of Sergey Lipinets, former IBF champion, and I thought Custio Clayton clearly won the fight against Sergey Lipinets, but he got a draw. Ironically, Sergey Lipinets, in his next fight after Custio Clayton, he fought Jaron Ennis, and he was brutally knocked out in the fight with Jaron Boots Ennis. So, looks like Custio Clayton, at 34 years of age, only 19 fights in his career. He's a Canadian-born fighter, orthodox fighter. Jaron Ennis is a switch fighter. Okay, Jaron Ennis has the ability to switch from southpaw to orthodox. Jaron Ennis is big, strong. He's young. Okay, he's 10 years younger than Custio Clayton. Okay, he's an inch taller with a 5-inch arm reach advantage. Now, that's going to be a serious problem for Custio Clayton. Now, obviously, there's another fighter in the top 2 of the IBF ranking system that many people thought was going to be the fight that's going to be ordered, and that was undefeated, rising welterweight superstar, Mexican title contender in Virgil Ortiz Jr. Virgil Ortiz Jr., 18 wins, no losses, no draws, 18 wins by way of knockout, 23 years of age, 5'10" with a 70-inch arm reach. He'll be 24 in March. With that said, Virgil Ortiz Jr. opted to not fight Jaron Boots Ennis for IBF title eliminator. As I told you guys, he would not, and that would not be the fight. He instead is going to fight Michael McKinson March 19th. And Michael McKinson is 21 wins, no losses, no draws, 2 wins by way of knockout. So he's not a big puncher at all. 27 years of age, 5'9" with a 70-inch arm reach. So that's who Virgil Ortiz is opting to fight. A guy who is not in the top 15 of the WBC, the WBO, IBF, or the WBA, and he's definitely not top 10 in the Ring magazine. But I told you guys, as Virgil Ortiz and his team, they don't seem too eager to get in the ring with Jaron Boots Ennis. Now, there was a lot of reports and a lot of people stating that the IBF was going to order Virgil Ortiz versus Jaron Boots Ennis, and I told you that was not going to be the case because it simply doesn't make sense for Virgil Ortiz Jr., okay? Virgil Ortiz Jr. is ranked very high in all the sanction bodies, so why would he go the route of fighting Jaron Ennis, okay, for the IBF mandatory position. So here's how the IBF was going. You had initially you had Abdulkarov. He was at number 1 in the IBF. He was the mandatory challenger, but since he lost to Cody Crowley, who's 20 wins, no losses, no draws. Cody Crowley doesn't have any interest in fighting Ennis unless he's getting paid heavily. He was at number 1. Okay, number 2 was 2-time welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Showtime Sean Porter, who is now retired after his stoppage loss to 3-division world champion, undefeated welterweight world champion, who's the WBO welterweight champion, Terrence Bud Crawford. He got stopped in the 10th round. So Sean Porter, he retired. Okay, so now by default, Jaron Ennis was number 3, Virgil Ortiz was number 4. So automatically you would say Jaron Ennis moves to number 1, Virgil Ortiz moves to 2, because Abdulkarov, he dropped out, he's all the way at 15, and Sean Porter retired. Okay, so it naturally looks like they should fight for the vacant, mandatory position in the IBF. But I told you guys, Virgil Ortiz, history. All you have to do is look at his history. He's ranked number 5 in the Ring magazine. Now in the Ring magazine, Jaron Ennis is ranked number 4, only behind the champions. Terrence Crawford at 1, Errol Spence at 2, Dana Sugas at 3, at 4, Jaron Boots Ennis, and at 5, Virgil Ortiz Jr. in the Ring magazine. For the WBO, Virgil Ortiz is number 1 in the WBO ranking system. Jaron Ennis is at number 2. Okay, then you look at the IBF, as I already broke down the IBF in that position. Then you look at the WBC. Virgil Ortiz is number 1 in the WBC rankings, okay? And then you look at the WBA. Virgil Ortiz Jr. is number 2 in the WBA, ahead of Jaron Ennis. And then you look at, so you look at all these sanction bodies. Doesn't make sense for Virgil Ortiz to fight Jaron Ennis for the IBF mandatory position when Errol Spence already holds the WBC title. He's number 1 in the WBC, and he's also number 2 in the WBA. So he's in position, and he's number 1 in the WBO. So he's in position to fight Terrence Crawford, or he could fight Errol Spence and by default pick up the IBF title. So if he fought Errol Spence, after Errol Spence, let's say Errol Spence is victor over Dana Sugas, as many people expect him to be, well, he gets to fight Errol Spence. If he beats Errol Spence, he picks up the IBF title anyway. So he's already in position to fight for a world title. It doesn't make sense for him to lose his position and run the risk of fighting Jaron Ennis and losing when he could already just petition the WBC, WBO, or the WBA to get the mandatory position, okay? Thus the reason why I had an issue with him fighting Michael McKinson, opposed to pushing for the mandatory position against Terrence Crawford, who doesn't have a fight, and fighting Terrence Crawford, okay? Because he doesn't have a fight. Now, remember, after his fight with Mighty Mo Maurice Hooker, Virgil Ortiz, he stated that he wanted to fight Terrence Crawford next. After his fight with Maurice Hooker, Terrence Crawford is close friends with Maurice Hooker. They stablemates, and he helps train Maurice Hooker. So he was ringside. Virgil Ortiz said, after I beat and knock out Maurice Hooker, I'm going to call out Terrence Crawford. Well, immediately after the fight, he was asked about fighting Terrence Crawford. He's ready. He said he don't know if he's ready, but he don't have a choice. Let's make the fight happen. So, therefore, and then after that, he fought Igis Kavalauskas, a guy Terrence Crawford knocked out already. And then he beats Igis Kavalauskas. He was nearly knocked out in that fight. And I feel like his team, they feel like he needs more time. They're not eager to put him in there with Ennis, Terrence Crawford, or Errol Spence, because he's in position right now to fight for a title. But why would he run the risk of fighting an IBF eliminator when he's ahead of Jaron Ennis in the other 3 major sanction belts, and he could push for an immediate opportunity to fight for the title, okay? So that just didn't add up. So now Custio Clayton is the opponent. Another guy who was a possibility is David Avanesyan, okay? David Avanesyan, is a very good fighter. He's ranked, high in all of the major sanction belts, okay? So in the, you have David Avanesyan, number 5 in the WBO, okay? He is number, he's number 8 in the IBF. I don't know why he's number 8, but he's number 8 in the IBF, and David Avanesyan is number 2 in the WBC, and he is ranked number 12 in the WBA ranking system. But we know the WBA, the way they rank and do things, is unorthodox to say the very least. So with that said, David Avanesyan is also a possibility, but it looks like it's going to be Custio Clayton. David Avanesyan is 28 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, 16 wins by way of knockout. He himself was knocked out, 33 years of age. Russian fighter, 5'8" with a 68-inch arm reach. Okay, he was last seen in the ring October of 2021 when he beat Liam Taylor versus TKO via TKO. He also knocked out Josh Kelly, who was undefeated. So he made a name for himself, but he's not eager to get in the ring with Jaron Boots Ennis. So looks like you're going to get Custio Clayton, who's an undefeated fighter, and shouldn't have a draw on his resume. He should just be undefeated all the way and have a clean resume all the way around the board. But nonetheless, looks like you're going to get Custio Clayton versus Jaron Boots Ennis in March. So let's see how this all unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
This is Amanda, the real deal Serrano, and you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.